good afternoon, good noon. Before I start, and as a segue from Chris Coulter's wonderful presentation, I would say that if trust is low in the business sector, in the government sector, leadership is super important, and also the intelligent use of those organizations who have high trust. And those organizations who have high trust were science, academics, and NGOs. And what I'm going to talk about is how partnership together with NGOs, government, and the business sector can really bring changes along the way. And I want to start actually talking about something most of us know very well. Quoting the Declaration of Independence of the State of Israel that was signed on the 14th of May, 1948, it was stated that Israel will be based on freedom, justice, peace, and that it will ensure complete equality of social and political rights to all its inhabitants, irrespective of religion or race or sex. And for the past 68 years, Israel has been striving to be that country. Like other developed economies, it also put the right to work and the right to earn a basic or a decent wage in its promise to its citizens. As you know, Israel faces some very unique demographic and social changes that threaten that ideal. And we've seen that in the field of employment, ultra-Orthodox men, Arab women, people with disabilities, were largely outside the sphere of employment. And employers were not so eager to integrate these employees into their companies. The result is also poverty. It's poverty in these vastly expanding communities for these and for individuals in Israel as a whole. Over the past decade, we've seen more and more people. Oh, I'm not clicking. Okay. Thank you very much. Over the past decade, we've seen more and more people entering the labor market from diverse communities, and this did not happen on its own. Things happened. There was a major change of policy in Israel, welfare to work, setting up measurable goals, overarching of all of employment, and also, over and above all, a massive investment in active labor market programs by the government of Israel, but also by NGOs. This is where we came in, JDC-TEVET, the joint, were acting as Israel's social R&D organization, working alongside the government of Israel. And we joined forces with employers, with nonprofits, and of course with the government to develop models and programs to help people from diverse communities to enter the workforce. Together with Maala and other nonprofits, we set up the Israel Forum for Diversity Hiring, which a lot of you are actually part of. And we introduced the language of diversity to Israel, to looking at employing people from diverse community as an asset, as a strength, as an opportunity for market growth, for innovation, to create more inclusive and forward-thinking businesses. And in the past decade, we've seen results. We've seen the employment rate of ultra-Orthodox men actually growing from 35% 15 years ago to more than 52% today. We've seen Arab women labor force participation rates grow in almost 8 percentage points. And all in all, as you probably know, the participation rate in Israel in the labor market is actually higher than that of the OECD average. We were lower 10 years ago. But, and there always seems to be a but, as the labor market is growing and diversifying, new challenges arise. And the most pressing and alarming one is the rise of the phenomenon of the working poor. So many people are stuck in entry-level jobs with low income. The number of families with two breadwinners that are under the poverty line actually tripled in the past decade. In 2004, there were about 21,000 families with two breadwinners that were poor. Today, there are 65,000, and this number is still growing. is this what we meant in the promise for each family to actually live off a decent wage? Well, this is not their problem. It's all of our problems. And we can do things about it. Together, we can allow for people from all communities to advance in the labor market. We need innovative, we need cutting edge, we need all of your brains thinking. We need programs that can answer emerging needs in the employment field. I want to give you 3 examples of things that can be done. So here's an example of one of the programs that was developed by the joint TEVET together with and for Electra, and the representative from Electra is sitting in the crowd. Their air conditioning, you know, it's Electra, it's an air conditioning company. Their air conditioning division in Electra employs 200 technicians. And these technicians work long hours during the summer to meet the demands of the extreme heat. In the season, the demand for technicians is skyrocketing, and actually companies are fighting over the good technicians. And these companies are actually experiencing the technicians leaving them in the middle of the summer at the heat of things. After September, there's actually a drop in the number of technicians needed, and many companies, like Electra, used to let these technicians go and rehire them in April. This maneuver has serious implications. First, for the business, lack of company loyalty, constant retraining, massive turnover, and so on. It also has very, very serious implications for the technicians who can actually not rely on a steady wage, on something that puts them out of the risk of poverty. Over the past 2 years, we worked with Electra to implement a career ladder program, which brought about a complete turnaround. So what happened? First and foremost, after the company sat down and did the math, they saw that the cost of retaining the technicians during the winter is the same as letting them go and then rehiring them, okay? Which is amazing, actually. This calculation allowed Electra to rethink its HR strategy regarding technicians. They decided to train the technicians during the winter months in 2 tracks. One, a managerial track, and one track was a more professional technical track. Electra reported, they set clear benchmarking for personal advancement and salary increases. After a year of a pilot program in Electra, they reported that their turnover was cut in half, from about 40% turnover in the times of heat to 20% turnover, and that especially the technicians were reporting something that they never reported before. They reported Electra as being a home, their loyalty, skyrocketed in surveys and so on. So both sides benefited greatly. Both sides are satisfied. It's a win-win. Another example, when looking at what we can do together, is a program that is now actually developed, and some of you are part of it. It's the government of Israel, the Vocational Training Unit, and TEVET set up a starter program. It's an apprenticeship program, and I'll tell you about it through an example. Who you see here is Baruch. Baruch was working after the army, but he was earning a very low income, and also he was bored. He was actually didn't see any path for career advancement. And he was looking for a challenge, he was looking for a place he could grow, and he was referred to the apprenticeship program to study CNC. He studied 2 days a week. He studied 2 days a week and worked 3 days a week. It's actually a first-time model in Israel. He became certified by the Ministry of Labor and Social Affairs with a marketable profession, some experience, and advancement opportunities. Today, he works in El Al. He's an El Al employee, already earning more than the minimum wage, and is positively challenged by the complexity and the extreme responsibility in his CNC profession. So El Al gained a very professionalized worker, and society gained a very fulfilled citizen. And the answer that we go back to, and I was in the session listening to Osnat from Strauss, is being employed enough in Israel? Are we paying our workers salaries that allows them to live in dignity, to afford the basics, to provide for their families? As some of you heard, the Strauss Company examined this closely and set actually an example for the business sector to follow by increasing their low-paid workers' salaries. Today, we at JDC-TEVET, with Maala leading the path, we work to bring this aspect of employment to a wider business community, and you're all welcome to join us in the thinking process. These are just three among many, many demonstration projects that we develop. And when we look forward ahead, we think, what are the big challenges ahead? And we see that one big challenge is the changing world of what the World Economic Forum in its recent publication about the future labor market called the fourth industrial revolution, who some of you are already experiencing in your automation and the change of skills that are needed in your workers. The work of today is not the work of tomorrow, and we invite you to join us in actively seeking ways that all communities can benefit from the opportunities that these changes will bring and are already bringing. So we can say together that everyone actually has a right to work and that everyone can earn a decent wage. So I didn't show you this in the beginning, but some people say, I'm a dreamer. Well, I'm a dreamer, but I have lots of friends that dream together with me, and I hope that you'll join us.